Alright folks, today I'm going to give you a tutorial on how to create your low poly symmetrical animal face. So I've already saved my image that I'm going to be working from, and the first thing I need to do is open it in Photoshop. So let me find my image, File, Open. I saved it in my Google Drive. I'm filming this video at home today, which means that my file searching might be a little bit different than yours, but you really should know how to how to find your files at this point. So here is my animal that I'm going to be using. I'm going to do this antelope. Remember, you're only going to do the face and any accessories associated with the face. So mine obviously has these great big horns. The first thing you need to do is straighten, if necessary, and crop the image. So let's talk about straightening first. If your animal is facing the camera, but their face is not perfectly horizontal, you should probably correct that. So you go to the crop tool, you click this straighten button, and you have to pick 2 points that should be level with one another to straighten. So I'm going to zoom in here, move up. I usually like to do like maybe the corners of the eyes, so I just click and hold. I'm going to go over to this corner of this eye, and there you go. And it just tilted it a tiny bit. It was mostly straight, but if yours is not straight, that's what you would do. So now let me zoom back out, and I'm going to crop. For our project, you only need half of the animal face. I have this set to constrain to a certain proportion, which I don't want, so let me just change that, unconstrained. Okay, so you only need half of the face. The other thing is you don't need any of the body or any of the background or anything, so get rid of anything you don't need. I like to use, see this little line under his snout? If your animal has that, that is a great reference point to get it dead in the center. And I don't need anything below his chin. And I don't need anything beyond, let me make sure I'm getting his antler. Okay, I have to make sure I get all of his horn because I want all of that. Then I hit return, and my image is cropped. I'm only going to do his face, his ear, and his horn here. So now that I have cropped it as I want, I'm going to save it. Let's do save as, not save on top of my original. Save as, and then I'm going to put it on my low poly animals folder, and I'm going to call this antelope cropped. Okay, I want this set as a JPEG, and that should be good. So I'm going to hit save. When it gives you the options for how big you want the file to be, always max it out. You want it to be as big as possible. You don't want to lose any quality. I'm going to click OK, and I can close Photoshop. Now I need to open Illustrator. Once I'm in Illustrator, I'm going to do File, Open, and find that same image that I was just working with. Antelope cropped, click open, and there he is. Let me command 0 so I can zoom out and see everything. Okay, now you'll notice this black box in the middle of my image. This is the artboard. Okay, Illustrator works with these things called artboards. This is sort of like the canvas or the piece of paper that I'm working on. So right now my image, my photograph is much larger than my artboard, but that's really not a big deal. To make the artboard fit on the image, I'm going to go to Object, Artboards, Fit to Artwork Bounds, and it's gone, and it has now fitted to my photograph. Okay, so you're going to need your Layers panel open, and if it's not open, as always, go to Window and then layers. Mine is already open, so I don't need to open it. And get this out of the way. Okay. Let's move this over. Okay. So now what you're going to do is we're going to start adding our triangles on top of our antelope. The first thing I want to do is make a new layer. Illustrator works very similarly to Photoshop in that it has layers, just like Photoshop does, and you're going to want to use them. So open that Layers panel and click New Layer, and then lock your photo layer. I'm going to rename this layer Triangles. You don't have to rename your layer, but this is where all of my triangles are going to go. And remember, you're only using triangles for this assignment. I'm zooming in so I can see my animal easily, and let's work on how to do those triangles. So you're going to want to use the pen tool, and I always like to try to start in a spot that I kind of see a triangle shape to begin with. So I'm going to start right here. This looks pretty good. So I'm going to click 1, 2, 3, and 4 to close. Okay. Right now you can see that my triangle is filling in white, which makes it really hard to see what I'm doing. So I want to set my fill, this box right here, set that to none. Now I'll get triangles with a black outline and a no fill, so I can see my photo underneath. And from here, I need to add the next triangle. Now, if I click right here, what's going to happen is, oops, it deleted my anchor, which is obviously not what I want. So after you create a triangle, you have to click somewhere away from that triangle to add the next one. But I do want my triangles to sort of be attached to one another or be butted up right next to each other. So I clicked once, and now I'm going to go over here and I'm going to click until I see, I'm going to hold the mouse until I see the word anchor. Okay, click, next anchor, click, next one, or close my triangle. You see the little circle next to my pen tool, that means the shape is going to close, click. Okay, and I'm just going to keep adding triangles. 1, 2, 3, 4, making sure that I am connecting them to each other, but you don't start the triangle by clicking on the last one you made, because it won't work. Okay, now I can go back and start a triangle over here. So let's say I want one to be connected to here. I can start on this anchor. It will allow me to do that. You just have to have created a shape sort of in between those two. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I went back over here, and that worked okay. So just, keep track of what you're doing. Make sure that you are making your triangles intersect, and probably most importantly, make sure you are following the shape of the animal. And make sure you're not overlapping areas of color. So for example, I would not make a triangle that cuts across this white fur and this black space. Okay, that's going to give me issues later. So make sure that your triangles are positioned in a way that follows the colors and shapes of your animal. Now you'll notice right here, let me zoom in, you'll be able to see it better. Right here, my triangles don't align. Okay, I have a gap here between them, which I don't want. So I'm going to use the direct selection tool. That's this key, or that's this white arrow right here. The keystroke for it is A, if you want to just press the A key on your keyboard. And I can go to my triangle, click the anchor and release, and then click and drag to drag it into place so that it's connected to my previous triangle. Okay? All right, now I'm just going to keep making triangles all over my antelope. Okay, now that I've done pretty much all of this ear, I'm going to show you how to fill in color. Okay, so what you want to do is you're going to need the direct selection tool a lot. So you'll notice when I hover over the direct selection tool, I get that little yellow message that says direct selection tool. Get it back again. Direct selection tool. There it goes. And then the letter A. The shortcut for this direct selection tool is A. So since you're going to be using it a lot, you want to use the shortcut. So I'm going to click A to be on my direct selection tool, and I'm going to select a triangle. Then I'm going to click I. That takes me to the eyedropper. And what the eyedropper does is you click and it selects whatever color you happen to click on. So I'm going to click I, or click in the center of my triangle, and then A, triangle, I, in the center. A, triangle, I, click in the center. A, select a triangle, I, click in the center. A, triangle, I, center. And I'm just going to do that for all of my triangles. This goes fastest if you use your left hand to do the triangle selections and your right hand to click with your mouse. Now, if you're encountering, like I am right here, I know there's a triangle here. I cannot seem to click on it because it's sort of behind some others. Let's see if I can get it. No, it's every time I try to get it, it's selecting the ones behind it. So you may have to reorder some things. Remember, all of these shapes are on their own sort of mini layer. So if I go to my layers and I click down here, all of these paths, these are all individual triangles, okay? So, and this little, over here on the left, on the right-hand side, this will tell me which triangle I have selected right now. So I have this one, that's this triangle selected right now. And it's probably this one that I can't get my hands on. Nope, it's the one next to it. This one? Yeah, it's that one. So I'm just gonna drag that up above, and now it's popped in front, and I can select it. So you may have to sort of reorder some things in order to grab a hold of what you need. It just has to do with the way that I did my triangle drawings. So I'm going to go around and continue to fill these in, and you guys can follow along if you want. Okay, that's all my shapes. I missed a couple spots down here. I'll go in and fill those in later, but I just want to show you one more thing. And then I'm going to go ahead and do everything, fill in the whole rest of the drawing. But I want to show you one thing before I move on to that. Every once in a while, you should turn off your photo layer. And if you have big gaps, now these little sort of spotted, these little gaps right here that will show up on the screen, those will go away in printing. But if you have large gaps with white lines, you've got to go back and adjust your triangles and fill those in because it looks terrible. So remember what you do again, it's that white arrow, the direct selection tool, click the arrow, click the triangle, click the anchor, and then click and drag the anchor into the position that will close up that gap. It might mean that you have to fiddle around with several anchors since all of the triangles are connected, and hopefully you won't have to do too much of this, but it's a lot to keep track of, and you may have missed a couple of spots, and ended up with some gaps, but these dotted lines, those will go away in the final print version of this. So don't stress about those. Don't fight with them. It's not worth it. But anywhere you've got major white gaps, you've got to fill them in. Okay. I have one right here, one right here. So this is not, this happens to your teacher too. It's not like you did something wrong. It's just something that you have to make sure you go back and deal with. So I'm going to fix these up, and then I'm going to do the rest of my antelope. All right, so I have completely filled in made all of my triangles and filled them all in. I closed all of my gaps, and I am ready to add the other half of my animal here. So First things first, I'm going to turn off my photo layer, okay? And again, make sure that you have closed every single little white gap, because if you don't close them all now, when you copy and paste this guy, you're going to end up pasting all of your errors as well, which you do not want. So any changes you want to make them now, and make sure you've closed up all of those gaps. And once again, I'm not sure if they'll show up in the video or not, but I do have some little hairline kind of dots along the edges of my triangles. Those will go away in printing, so don't worry about those. Again, I'm not even sure if they show up in my my video here. So anyway, let's go over how to flip this thing. So I'm on my triangles layer, and I'm going to edit, or no, object. Sorry, one more time. I'm going to go to select all. Yeah, select all, okay, or you can hit Command A, and that will select everything, okay, the whole thing. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste. And there is a second one there. Before I do anything, because I want all these to stay nicely grouped, I'm going to go to Object, Group. And what that will do is it will make it so that when I select one of these shapes, it selects all of them. But there is a copy here. There's two of them, all right? But this one's just grouped. Now I need to take this copy here and I need to flip it. So I'm going to go to Object, Transform, Reflect, and I'm going to flip it vertical. I can click Preview here to make sure I've got it flipped the right way, and then click OK. And now I'm just going to slide this over, and I want to make sure everything is right dead on. So I'm going to get it as close as I can with the mouse. Then I'm going to zoom way in, and I'm going to adjust it until everything is aligned perfectly. Make sure that you're not too far over. Make sure that, you know, these should appear as diamonds here in the center. So you may have to use the keyboard to get it just right. And then I'd say that looks well aligned. All of the center lines all the triangles in the center are lining up with their partner on the other side. So let me zoom back out. And I need to fit my artboard now. We did this at the beginning, and obviously I have a whole other section now. So I'm going to go to Object, Artboards, Fit to Artwork Bounds. There is my symmetrical animal. Let me zoom back in here and make sure that the face, yeah, this is all aligning. Sometimes it gives you these kind of ghost lines around the edges, but again, those do not show up in printing, which is really all we care about. Okay. And then lastly, I'm going to add a background. Don't just leave this background white. You guys should add a background. The fastest way to do it is to make a new layer, and I'm going to put it here between my triangles and my photo layer. I'm going to go to the rectangle tool, okay, which looks like a rectangle, predictably. I'm going to click outside of my artboard and drag till I'm on the other side, outside of my artboard, and then I can click the fill here, and I can pick a color that I want for my animal. So you can pick whatever color you want. I don't recommend anything too wacko in terms of brightness. If it's me, I like to pick a color that I think kind of reflects the environment that my animal might live in. But it's up to you. You can put whatever you want back there. I am not grading you on the color you choose. Oh, I like that green. So that looks pretty good. Let's get out of this. And there we go. There is my low poly symmetrical animal. I am going to, oh, let me do one more thing. You need to make sure he's centered, he or she. So I'm going to go to my triangles layer and Command A, select all, object, select all. Oh, don't want to deselect my, let me lock this. Object, I'm going to group it, and now I'm going to align it to the center. So you can choose how you want it aligned, but it needs to be centered. Again, it's a symmetrical drawing. And so if you click this guy here and this guy here, you'll get it aligned so it's even on all sides. And I am also going to move my artboard one more time. I don't really want my horns to be this close to the edge because it might not print very well. So I just aligned it to my rectangle. So there's my antelope, my low poly symmetrical antelope. I'm going to do File, Save, and then File, Save As, and I would put it in the Turn In folder to turn it in. So I hope you guys enjoyed this project, and I'm really looking forward to seeing your results.